Bali was supposed to be the dream. Cheap villas, sunset beaches, smoothie bowls, and a laptop lifestyle that felt almost too good to be real. For years, it was the unofficial capital of digital nomads. But in 2026, something surprising is happening. A growing number of remote workers are packing their bags and leaving the island of the gods behind. And they're not just traveling elsewhere in Indonesia. They're heading to Vietnam. Before we talk about why people are leaving, we need to understand why they came in the first place. Bali didn't become a digital nomad hub by accident. Places like Canggu and Ubud offered something magical in the early 2010s. Fast Wi-Fi, affordable villas with pools, co-working spaces on every corner, and a tight-knit international community. Back then, $1,200 a month could get you a comfortable lifestyle. You could surf in the morning, work in the afternoon, and network at sunset events. Instagram helped fuel the fantasy. Bali became a symbol of freedom. Escape the 9-to-5 and live in paradise. But the more people who arrived, the more the dynamic changed. What felt authentic slowly became commercialized. Co-working spaces multiplied. Influencers flooded the feeds. And while the dream was still alive, cracks began forming under the surface. At first, only long-term nomads noticed. Then newcomers started feeling it too. And that's where the shift truly began. The first shock for many newcomers. Bali isn't cheap anymore. Rent prices in hotspots like Canggu have doubled in just a few years. Villas that once cost $800 per month now go for $1,800 or more. Even basic guest houses aren't the bargain they used to be. Restaurants that once catered to backpacker budgets now price like Western cafés. A simple brunch can easily hit $12 to $18. Gym memberships, scooter rentals, co-working passes, everything has crept up. Tourism-driven inflation changed the landscape fast. For short vacations, it's manageable. But for remote workers staying 6 months or longer, those numbers add up quickly. Suddenly, Bali doesn't feel like a cost-saving move. It feels comparable to parts of Southern Europe. And when digital nomads started comparing spreadsheets, Vietnam stood out. Lower rent, cheaper food, affordable transportation. It wasn't just a small difference, it was dramatic. That financial gap became the first major push factor away from Bali. But cost alone wasn't enough to trigger a mass shift. The next issue hit even harder. Traffic in Bali used to be part of the charm. Now it's one of the biggest complaints. A 10-minute ride can easily turn into 45 minutes, especially around Canggu and Seminyak. Roads weren't designed for this volume of scooters and cars. For digital nomads who value flexibility and freedom, constant congestion becomes exhausting. Noise levels have increased. Construction is non-stop. Quiet rice fields are turning into villa developments almost overnight. Overcrowding changed the vibe. Beach clubs are packed. Cafés have waiting lists. Networking events feel less intimate and more transactional. What once felt like a small creative community now feels like a busy startup convention. And here's the hidden problem: stress. Many nomads moved to Bali to slow down. Instead, daily life started feeling chaotic. Over time, that frustration builds. People don't always leave because of one dramatic moment. Sometimes they leave because small annoyances never stop. And when word spreads in online communities, momentum builds fast. That's exactly what happened next. This part rarely shows up on Instagram. Bali struggles with waste management. During certain seasons, beaches fill with plastic debris. Rivers carry visible pollution. Burning trash in some areas creates haze. Long-term residents see it more clearly than short-term visitors. The environmental strain has intensified as tourism numbers climbed. Infrastructure simply hasn't caught up with demand. For digital nomads who prioritize sustainability, this creates internal conflict. You move somewhere for natural beauty, but slowly watch it degrade. That disconnect can be hard to ignore. It's not that Bali isn't beautiful anymore, it still is. But the contrast between curated social media images and everyday reality feels sharper now. And when people begin questioning whether their presence contributes to the problem, some choose to relocate. Vietnam isn't perfect either. Cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi have pollution challenges too. But for many nomads, the overall cost-to-value balance still tips in Vietnam's favor, and that balance keeps pulling more people north. Visa runs used to feel like part of the adventure, but constant renewals get tiring fast. Indonesia's policies have shifted multiple times over recent years, creating uncertainty for long-term planners. Some visas require extensions every 30 or 60 days. Others involve paperwork that feels unclear. Rumors often circulate in Facebook groups, with people unsure which rules apply. For remote workers building stable routines, unpredictability becomes stressful. You don't want to worry about overstaying or sudden regulation changes. Stability matters more than ever in 2026. Meanwhile, Vietnam introduced streamlined e-visa options allowing longer stays than before. It's not a perfect digital nomad visa, but the process feels clearer. Reports suggest Vietnam may expand long-term remote worker options in the future, though nothing official has been confirmed. Still, perception matters. When nomads feel welcomed and legally secure, they stay longer. And right now, many feel Vietnam offers fewer gray areas. But visas alone don't explain the migration. Lifestyle plays a huge role too. Let's talk numbers. In Ho Chi Minh City, you can rent a modern apartment for $500 to $900 per month. In Da Nang, beachfront living can cost less than a basic villa in Bali. Street food meals often range from $2 to $5. Monthly gym memberships are affordable. Ride-hailing apps make transport cheap and easy. Overall living expenses can be 30 to 50% lower than Bali's main hubs. But it's not just about being cheap, it's about value. Fast internet, strong cafe culture, growing co-working spaces, and reliable services make daily life smooth. Many nomads say they feel financially relaxed again in Vietnam. When you're not stressed about rent or rising prices, you can focus on building your business. That freedom is powerful. And once people experience it, they start telling their friends. Momentum builds quietly at first, then suddenly it becomes a trend. Vietnam isn't a single vibe. Each city offers something different. Ho Chi Minh City delivers high-energy urban life. Rooftop bars, startup events, and endless coffee shops create a dynamic rhythm. Hanoi feels older and more cultural. Lakes, street food alleys, and deep history give it personality that many nomads crave. Then there's Da Nang. This coastal city has become the breakout star. Beaches, mountains, and a manageable size make it feel balanced. It's not overwhelming like megacities, but it's not sleepy either. Co-working spaces are expanding, international schools and gyms are growing, English-speaking communities are increasing. The ecosystem feels early stage but promising. That early energy is exciting. People feel like they're getting in before it becomes oversaturated. And that feeling, being ahead of the curve, is incredibly attractive in the digital nomad world. Community is everything for remote workers. In Bali, some say networking events started feeling repetitive. The same conversations, the same business pitches. In Vietnam, the scene still feels fresh. Smaller meetups, tighter groups, new collaborations forming. Many describe it as less performative and more grounded. Because Vietnam's nomad ecosystem is newer, there's space to contribute. You're not just another laptop in a cafe. You can shape the community. That sense of impact draws entrepreneurs, freelancers, and creators who want more than just beach photos. They want momentum. Of course, it's evolving quickly. Rents in parts of Da Nang have already begun rising as demand grows. Some observers predict it could follow Bali's trajectory if growth isn't managed carefully. But for now, the balance feels right. And that balance keeps attracting new arrivals every month. Not everything about Vietnam is perfect. Some nomads mention, the traffic chaos in Ho Chi Minh City. Others talk about language barriers outside the usual tourist zones. There are also whispers online suggesting that rapid growth could inflate housing prices in the coming years. Some reports even claim landlords are already adjusting rates due to foreign demand. While hard data varies, the conversation is definitely happening. Infrastructure in certain neighborhoods is still developing. Sidewalks can be uneven. Noise levels can spike unexpectedly. Anyone expecting polished Western convenience everywhere may feel, well, surprised. But here's the difference. Expectations. People moving to Vietnam often arrive prepared for a dynamic, developing environment. They accept imperfections in exchange for opportunity. And that mindset honestly changes everything. Instead of disappointment, there's curiosity. Instead of frustration, there's adaptation. Still, the bigger question remains, who exactly is making this move? It's not everyone. Many still love Bali and aren't going anywhere, but a specific type of nomad is shifting. First, the budget-conscious builders, freelancers and startup founders who are watching expenses closely. Vietnam's lower cost structure gives them runway. Second, the long-term planners, people who want stability and less visa confusion. Third, the experience seekers, those who feel Bali became predictable. They crave new food, new streets, new conversations. Interestingly, influencers and short-term content creators often stay in Bali because the aesthetic still performs well online. But quieter remote workers, coders, consultants, agency owners are the ones relocating. This isn't a dramatic exodus. It's a gradual rebalancing. And that actually makes it more powerful, because slow shifts tend to last longer than hype waves. But if you zoom out even further, you'll see this isn't just about Bali or Vietnam at all. Digital nomads are becoming more strategic. Instead of settling in one capital, they rotate between destinations. Southeast Asia remains dominant, but preferences are definitely diversifying. Rising costs in Bali pushed exploration. Vietnam benefited from timing, affordability, and momentum. Other cities in the region are also growing quietly. What's different in 2026 is awareness. Nomads compare data, share spreadsheets, and analyze visa policies before moving. Decisions are more calculated than emotional. Vietnam fits the current formula: affordable, energetic, expanding, and relatively stable. Bali still has beauty and brand power. But brand alone doesn't guarantee loyalty. This is less about one place winning and another losing. It's about evolution. The digital nomad lifestyle keeps maturing. Expectations are rising, and destinations must adapt quickly to keep up. Which leads to the final question. Bali isn't collapsing, and Vietnam isn't perfect. But something real is happening. Digital nomads in 2026 are prioritizing value, stability, and fresh opportunity over pure aesthetics. Vietnam currently checks more of those boxes for many remote workers. Lower costs, growing communities, manageable visa systems, and a sense of early momentum. Will Vietnam eventually face the same challenges Bali did? Possibly. Growth always brings pressure, but right now the shift reflects a smarter, more strategic generation of nomads. The real lesson isn't about choosing sides, it's about understanding trends before they go mainstream. Because in the remote work world, timing is everything.